There was an unusual air of expectation that morning within the historic brick walls of Harvard University. There was a name that stood out on the course lists, and that was enough to shake up the conventional academic order. Today's guest for the elective course titled Modern Values and Leadership Psychology was an unexpected but indisputably influential figure, Donald J. Trump. The host of the course was Professor Malcolm Voss, one of the university's doyens, known as a psychoanalyst and respected in the intellectual community. He was known for his composure, logical approach, and sweet, tough attitude towards conservatives. Today, however, he had a different strategy. He didn't just want to host the guest, he wanted to test him in the labyrinths of his mind. But the moment Trump entered the room, the theoretical order Voss had planned began to crumble, because Trump didn't go up to the podium. He sat in an empty chair among the students, making eye contact, observing. He had no intention of making the first move. The course began. The professor made a classic introduction. Society's great leaders are often caught between personal loyalty and social expectations. Our guest today has lived this conflict on the world stage. Then he turned slightly to Trump. Mr. Trump, I'm asking you directly, not as a man, but as a husband, a father, and a figure, lover status. A few students in the classroom began to whisper. Some laughed, some fell silent. But Trump's face did not change, he just smiled. Then he spoke slowly in the silence. Good question, he said, but it comes with a false assumption. Love and status do not have to be in conflict. True love makes you grow. Status is just a matter of how others see you. My devotion to Melania has never been a showcase choice. She has been my silent strategist who shaped my biggest decisions. The class fell silent at that moment. Voss smiled. But people often see you alone. Melania has been in the background in campaigns. Did you consciously choose to carry your silence into the public? Trump turned his eyes to the professor. For me, he is a star who doesn't need to shine in the crowd. Not everyone notices the lights behind the scenes. But I have walked through the darkness of the night with him without losing my bearings. You call it silence. I call it loyalty. The phones in the classroom started vibrating at that moment because someone had recorded Trump's response and uploaded it to social media. The first tweet had already been posted with the title Love or Status. Trump changed classes at Harvard. The video became a trending topic 15 minutes later. Millions were watching and comments were pouring in. This guy always manages to surprise everyone. A little reminder at this point. If you want to be the first to see more powerful stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Because we don't just tell the news, we also tell the truth between the lines. As the lesson progressed, the conversation between Trump and Voss turned from an ordinary interview into a philosophical duel. While Voss questioned the role of emotions in the subconscious, Trump responded with his experiences. Love is not an emotion, Trump said at one point. Love is a choice. It's choosing the same person every morning, and that's a greater responsibility than any leadership decision. The class was no longer just listening. They were taking notes. They weren't asking questions because it was the first time most of them had heard such a sharp connection between emotional attachment and power. At that moment, a quiet student at the back raised his hand. Mr. Trump, could Melania be stronger than you? Trump paused for a moment, then replied, She is. While I fight the battles outside, she is the winner of the battles inside me. At the end of the class, Professor Voss unexpectedly turned to Trump. I came to test you, but I confronted myself. Trump stood up and extended his hand. Some lessons cannot be taught by us. You have to live them. Students were lined up outside the door, those who wanted selfies, those who wanted to ask questions. But Trump left only one sentence. It doesn't take a loud voice to defend love, but it takes courage to admit that there is a higher value than status. That day, only one lesson was not taught at Harvard. A perception has been destroyed. And perhaps true leadership began when it was not about crushing thoughts, but about giving rise to thoughts. If you are curious about the rest of this story, don't forget. The echoes of this encounter, new headlines exploding in the media, and an unexpected academic reaction await you in the second part. Write in the comments now, love or status? What is your answer? Shall we continue? When Trump's historic Harvard lecture ended, not only students on campus but also people across the country began to think. The video had been viewed more than 10 million times in 24 hours, but that was only the beginning. The real change was hidden in the comments after the video, because people began to question why they were surprised by what Trump said, not what he said. So emotional, so deep. Is it really Trump? One user wrote, to which another replied, maybe we know the person the media teaches, not the person he shows us. But the media itself was not prepared for this transformation. ABC, MSNBC, and even some center-right publications were ambivalent in their reporting of the event. Some headlines were, Trump's emotional outburst, I'd re-elect Melania any day. Harvard's lesson changed. The politics of love are being written. But others were more skeptical. Is he really sincere, or is it a strategic image? Is Trump trying to win votes through emotion? While these discussions were ongoing, the academic world within Harvard was also divided. While some saw Professor Voss's actions as an effective intellectual confrontation, others interpreted it as a populist initiative that jeopardizes the neutrality of the university. Discussions flared up on internal university email lists. One professor wrote, if someone like Trump is invited to our campus, who will protect our students' perception of reality? Another answer was more profound. What if our reality is already being manipulated? What if those questions are pointing to answers that are being hidden from us, not to us? Trump was silent. There were no posts on his social media accounts, no statements, no interviews. Only a photo of him leaving Harvard was circulating. He was wearing a suit, his hands in his pockets, the campus behind him, but there was no familiar expression on his face. This time it was not arrogance, but thought. People were seeing this expression for the first time, and this silence was talked about more than the loudest statements. An independent commentator on YouTube said in a 10-minute analysis video, Trump didn't do anything there. He didn't implement a strategy, he just told the truth. And the worst part is, we're not used to it. There were hundreds of thousands of comments under the video. One of them read, for the first time in my life, I heard a politician talk about love, and even though I loved him, my eyes filled with tears. A little reminder at this point, if you don't want to miss moments when people change and truths come out, like in this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Because on this channel, you don't just watch events, you watch people transform. While the storm was raging outside, an incident was taking place on the Harvard campus. Professor Voss was stopped by one of the students. Teacher, the young woman said, while watching you today, for the first time I saw a professor put himself at risk. Voss bowed her head. Sometimes you don't have to give a lecture, you have to take a lesson, she whispered. And Trump showed me not how much I know, but how little I live some things. But as with every story, some people took action to turn the moment upside down. A fake Twitter account posted a video of Melania attending an event alone after Trump's speech at Harvard, with the caption, "Look, there's loneliness in this woman's eyes." The video quickly went viral. The media was fired up again. Does Trump's defense of love contradict Melania's loneliness? Can true love be seen or experienced? Trump remained silent again. But this silence was no longer a tactic, it was a message. Because he was living in an age of a respond to every attack, but he was also showing the power of not responding to every attack. The next day, Melania shared only one photo, in a library holding a book, Finding Yourself by Carl Rogers. She captioned it with a single sentence, "True commitment comes from within, not from without." This post ignited a new spark, because people were no longer talking about Trump and Melania, but were looking at their own lives. Do I choose love every day? Do I really see the person I love, or am I playing the role? Do I love the status or the person? Trump had never asked any of these questions, but each one echoed like the words he had never spoken. That hour-and-a-half lecture at Harvard might not have been an academic achievement, but it had become a mental awakening, and that was just the beginning. If you want to see where this transformation story will evolve, a much bigger showdown awaits you in episode 3. Trump was silent, but the public was now speaking. Can true love be defended, or can it only be experienced? The answer is in the next episode. Stay tuned. In the meantime, what would you ask Trump? Write in the comments. A few days after that historic lecture at Harvard, America was still talking. They were now discussing not only Trump's answer, but also the question itself: love or status? Politicians, commentators, and psychologists were taking turns expressing their opinions on television debates. While newspapers were redefining love, millions of people were questioning their own lives on social media. Trump had said a sentence, but its echo was still echoing in the deepest crevices of the country. During this time, the Harvard University Board of Directors took an unexpected step. Following the social impact of the lecture given by Professor Malcolm Voss, it was decided to represent that lecture in an open forum format. The subject was clear: leadership, emotion, and perception, love or status. And of course, this time, Trump was invited again. But this time, it was not just a former president who came, but a figure who, in a sense, held a mirror up to the conscience of the country. People were not coming to watch him, but to hear about their own lives. When the day of the forum arrived, the hall was packed. Participation was not limited to students. Lecturers, journalists, artists, even some famous figures had quietly settled into their seats. When Trump entered the hall, there was no applause, but a respectful silence. He also walked to the podium in that silence. He had no notes in his hand. He took the microphone and just stared. In this gaze that lasted for minutes, people heard an unspoken sentence. "You ask, I'm just holding up the mirror." Finally, Trump spoke. "I did not come here to teach a lesson," he said. "But if you have learned anything, it is from your own story." A student from the hall stood up, his microphone in hand, his voice slightly trembling. "Mr. Trump, what do you think true love looks like?" The tone of the question was not clear. It was neither criticism nor praise. It was simply curiosity. And Trump did something unexpected. He got down from the podium. He approached the student. He looked into his eyes. True love is invisible, but its absence makes everything invisible. At that moment, people in the hall started to cry, because these were not the words of a politician, but of a man who understood life. And there were those who saw their own wounds in those words. Trump returned to the podium. "Melania will not go on stage with me because our relationship was not built on going on stage. What I share with her is not to be known by the world. It is to continue to know each other even when the world attacks us. Some people see our marriage as a campaign figure, but our marriage is not a campaign, it is a shelter." Those words exploded on social media. Before the forum had even ended, thousands of live viewers had joined the broadcast on YouTube. Real Commitment was trending on Twitter. Those who watched that moment were telling not only what was said, but what was happening. For the first time, a leader is measuring his power not by loneliness, but by commitment. There was a short break, and then something unexpected happened. The doors of the forum hall opened. A figure entered, elegant, simple, dignified. Melania Trump sat in the empty seat in the front without any announcement, without saying a word. The whole room stood up. There was no applause, but everyone's heart raced, because it was not an answer, it was a stance. Trump bowed his head when he saw her. He smiled. This time his eyes were not hard. He was thanking her with his eyes. Then he took the microphone again and said only this sentence: "Don't stop asking questions, but some answers can only be understood by living them." When the people dispersed at the end of the forum, something unexpected happened in the media. None of the channels attacked Trump. None of them praised him either. Because this time the media found silence, not sentences to report on, and that silence was too real to be a headline. Melania Trump shared the following sentence on her own social media account the next day. "Sometimes when a woman is not seen by a man, it doesn't mean he is not there. I am not seen, but I am always by his side." This post completed Trump's lesson. Love is neither spoken about by shouting nor on posters. Love is being able to remain invisible. Status grows with applause, but loyalty is tested in silence. What happened in that lesson is still being talked about today. People have changed their ideas about love. Maybe everyone is still looking for their own answers, but something has changed. Now more people have started to care about the unseen. If you want to be the first to see more of these stories and deeper confrontations, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Because here we tell not only the events but also the voice inside people. And now we ask you, love or status? Which one do you choose every day?